Does your law firm publish an email newsletter and you've been a little unimpressed with the outcome? Maybe there's the occasional response directly to it. Maybe there is a bit of content shared on social media, but overall you feel like your open rates are declining, or maybe we're disappointing from the get-go and you're not even sure, why am I doing an email newsletter? Or maybe you're not even doing one right now and you're thinking to yourself, based on what I just heard, should I be entering this space at all? Hi, I'm Charley, Mann with Great Legal Marketing, and I want to share with you ways to actually make an email newsletter pay off for you. Now, the first thing to consider with any email newsletter is the technology behind it. What I mean is, are you sending your email newsletter from a reliable sender platform? Do they have a good reputation score? Do their servers tend to have a low spam rating? These are all things that you can look up online by doing a search for spam score. And that will allow you to evaluate just the technology that you have. This is the equivalent of, is the television plugged into the wall? Before we start any troubleshooting, we have to know, are we actually getting power to the system? So from there, assuming you have a form of technology, whether it's something very advanced, you're all the way up on a Salesforce or HubSpot, or you're down at MailChimp, or you're somewhere in between in the many options available to you like ActiveCampaign, Keep, Entreport, etc., or you're hooked up to a special sender like SendGrid. There are plenty of options out there. Most of them are pretty good, and as we have found in our own experimentation, switching from one email platform to another is not a magic bullet to resolve your open rate issues. Now, the other struggle to overcome with an email newsletter is most law firms will only deliver it once per month. Why is this a problem? Because it is too inconsistent. The best businesses who get the highest performing outcomes from their email marketing email with extreme persistence. They don't worry about, will someone unsubscribe? And if you're playing the whole game to avoid unsubscribes, you are just missing out on opportunity. You have to have more of a swing for the fences mentality, because if all you do is produce content, if you produce an email newsletter just to keep your unsubscribes at zero, your best way to do that is to also actually keep your opens at zero. What you really want is an email newsletter that is provocative, that gets people to want to open it up, to dig deeper. And that means some people may disagree with what you have to say, and they might unsubscribe. But that's okay, because in the process, you'll gain a lot more committed fans and followers who become evangelists for your law firm. This evangelism mentality, this concept of creating the super fans, is critical, especially in a local business like yours. Now, getting back to the time portion, sending once a month means that infrequency, you never really build a relationship. If you want to go with a once a month newsletter, you've got to go with a print newsletter. That has huge impact. A print newsletter once a month can absolutely do the trick. For an email newsletter, however, it is too easily clicked out of and they won't go back to it. I have been shocked the number of times that I've heard people express the belief that people go back to read email newsletters. That is absolutely untrue, and all you have to do is observe your own behavior with email to realize that that is inaccurate. Whereas a print newsletter, that will stick around, may live on a kitchen countertop for a while, on an office desk. Heck, it might be tucked away with the bathroom reading material, but it's there, has a sense of permanency, and it gets revisited. On the other hand, email, you get one, maybe two times that it's opened, and that is it. So we've got to maximize our opportunity with people and increase our frequency. My minimum recommendation here is once every 2 weeks, but if you really want to get the best interactions, the best engagement, the best overall average open rates. We'll talk about open rates in just a second and why open rates are a bit of a fallacy that could be costing you a lot of wasted mental energy. We've got to deal with sending every single week. So when you send every single week, you simply end up with far more engagement overall because of the consistency. Sending every single week allows people to check in with you regularly and for you to check in with them regularly. you can be more timely with your interactions. One of the best ways to utilize an email newsletter is to share your thoughts on the news or something that has happened recently. Spin a news story into an interesting article on your website. Share something that is going on your community. Maybe there's a local fair that you can discuss, and maybe even link out to the website and share the tickets information for it. You can promote other businesses in your community. That's actually another thing. When we do a once a month email newsletter, there's a tendency to want to stack up an infinite amount of content. No one's going to read the entirety of that. On the other hand, if you email every single week and you give them 1 to 3 bites, they will interact with those on a more frequent, consistent basis. Now let's talk open rates for just a second. One of the main reasons people get frustrated with sending every week is you may start off, and let's say you see an open rate of 25% from the get-go. And that's really exciting. 25%. That's good, by the way. Although I'm going to talk about again why we're not going to pay too much attention to that number. Then week 2, you see a 23% open rate. And all of a sudden, after 6 weeks, you see this thing leveling off at a 19% open rate. You think to yourself, well, if I just sent once a month, maybe I get a higher open rate. Let's pretend you have 100 people on your list. Those 25 people who open each month will pale in comparison of these when you have 19 people opening every week, because here's what I'm about to share with you. It's not the same 19 people every week. One week it's 19. The next week you have 3 new people compared to the previous week opening it. The week after that, you have another, say, just 3 new people opening it. Maybe the week after that, it's another 5 different people who hadn't opened one of the other newsletters. And all of a sudden, you're engaging far more people. You've engaged 30 people. You've engaged 30% of your list rather than the 25% you got from once a month. Also, by the way, you will see if once a month it will start to taper off, and it will taper off faster than you expect. Once a week will keep you in rhythm. It will keep the communications going, and people will look for what you are sharing, as long as what you put in the newsletter and the subject lines that you use are worth looking at. This is critical. There's no greater damage that you can do to an email newsletter than making it boring. You are competing already with a crowded inbox. And if you want them to want to open your email, you have to make it worth their while. Always be thinking, why would someone want to open my email over all the others in their inbox? What would make them see my email and go, yes, I want to go, I got to check that out. There are 2 reasons that someone would do that. Number 1, they're familiar with your content already from another avenue, and they have such affinity for you that they want to continue seeing what's inside. That takes time to build. It is an objective you want to get to. However, the first thing that you need is you need to be teasing what's inside. This is where the subject line becomes so important, because if we don't get people to do those first opens, we'll never build that category of high affinity superfans who will open it even if we have the worst subject line in the world, just because they love opening things from you. Your subject lines need to work like great direct response headlines. This is where studying some of the masters of marketing out there, the Schwartzes of the world, the Victor Schwabs of the world, the Dan Kennedys of the world, the Gary Halberts of the world, getting to know how they handled headlines will give you a leg up. And one of the best headline types that you can have is something that is about to enter a story. This is really how you get people to click through. If there is clearly an unusual story inside, such as, you won't believe what I overheard at the courthouse. And inside there's information about this wild thing that you overheard at the courthouse. Maybe it was an attorney who was talking to a client saying, oops, I forgot your file. I don't have it on hand. I guess we're gonna have to wing it. That would make for a great story in an email newsletter. Your email newsletter is just the perfect place to put stories overall. Now, when you're diving in deeper into the content, like I said, it can be 1 to 3 bites of content. And ideally, it's not delivered entirely in the email newsletter. They will actually click out to maybe go to your website, go to your YouTube channel, even go to your social media platforms to interact farther with the content. You can do contests, you can do giveaways, you can highlight other business owners in the community. And again, if we're frequently emailing out, then you have more spaces where you can highlight local business owners, which is another way to build referral connections. But when you treat an email newsletter like this once a month, let's see how it goes, or just a content dump, you're guaranteed to get lackluster results. And what I often see is when you try going with just once a month, it starts to become we forgot this month, or, we forgot this quarter, and then you're just catching up. And rather than treating email marketing like part of your ecosystem, it's sort of something that you're reminded to do from time to time with no real intention or overall strategy behind it. So define your objectives for your email newsletter. Look at engagements, look at people who have signed up for giveaways, look at how many more visits you can get back to your website to specific content that you've launched recently, and view those as the objective measurables behind the email newsletter, and then you will actually want to do it. Because if it's just someone told me, Charlie here told me I'm supposed to do an email newsletter, if that's the reason you're doing it, that's the reason you're not getting the results that you want. On the other hand, if you see it as a fantastic communication platform where you can outdo all the competitors, where you can stay in consistent communication, where you can provide unique value, insight, and intrigue to your recipients, then you will get what you're looking for from your email newsletter. But if we're not considering it as part of the larger strategy, if we're not invested in doing it, if we only see it at I've got to do it, then you shouldn't be surprised when the results feel like I guess someone sent me an email newsletter. So go ahead and supercharge what you're trying to do with your email newsletters right now. Increase the frequency, pump up the intrigue, and engage in more storytelling, and then link back to your website and your properties and see how you can grow your entire ecosystem overall. If this is a type of idea that excites you, if you want to see more insight on how it's actually done, if you want to receive support in getting these kinds of things implemented in your law firm, then you've got to join one of our amazing membership and coaching programs, either at the hero level or at the icon level. Go ahead and visit information in below or on this screen, in addition to subscribing to the YouTube channel, so that way you can see more information like this coming to you. But if you really want the insider's look, if you want the support system, if you want to see a bigger marketing plan overall, way past the email newsletter, but including things like getting more referrals, improving your digital marketing, increasing conversions through better phone scripts, launching webinars for your law firm, and how to do better hiring and financial controls, make sure you take a look at the information below in the captions or in the description section and get signed up with us as soon as possible. Otherwise, take a look, watch another video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we look forward to hearing about your successes with your email newsletter.